Welcome everyone to Get Bricked. Today we're celebrating Star Wars Day by taking a look at the Mandalorian Starfighter. This is the LEGO set 75316 and includes 544 pieces. Let's get this one opened. Thank you for joining me today on Get Bricked. May the 4th be with you. And what better way to celebrate Star Wars Day than by taking a look at a LEGO Star Wars set. Now we've got the Mandalorian Starfighter set 75316, which includes 544 pieces. And we do get 3 minifigures in this set. We got Gar Saxon, Bo-Katan, as well as a Mandalorian Loyalist. Now I did have a lot of fun getting this one together, and it wasn't a very complicated build. It only gets a little bit difficult when you have the Technic pieces that connect the main body to the wings on the side, but otherwise it was pretty straightforward, and it does seem to be a common theme of Star Wars vehicles just in general, that they always seem to have moving parts or moving panels or wings that can either fold in or fold out or twist or something like that, which does seem to be a common theme of the vehicles, and this one is no exception. We've got the main body, the cockpit area, where it could actually twist, and it's actually able to move a full 360, so you can move it and put it into pretty much any position you want. And then we do got the panels on the side that can flip down and flip up for when it's landing versus when it's flying. And it actually does look pretty interesting when you got the middle rotated and then you have the wings kind of rotate around it as well. Now, since this is a starfighter, it is actually loaded up with different weaponry. We've got a couple of the flick-fire spring-loaded missiles on the sides of the wings. We've got a couple of the stud shooters mounted to the main body next to the cockpit. And then we've got what appears to be a couple of cannons in the front, in the middle of that front fork, as well as a mounted gun on the back of the vehicle that can actually spin in place as well. So I would say that this Mandalorian Starfighter's got a full complement of weaponry for any kind of confrontation it's going to end up in. So let's take a closer look at each part of this set. So we'll start off with the minifigures first, and we'll start with Bo-Katan, which does feature a really nice print for both the front and back of the torso, as well as on the front of the legs. I like the look of it with the brown as well as the silver on there. That adds a lot of more detail to it, and we get the blue spread out throughout it as well. The unfortunate thing is we don't get a print on the back of the legs, and of course the back print is going to be covered a large amount by the jetpack that's included with the minifigure. Now she does come with this short orange hairpiece where it looks like it has bangs, maybe trying to match the look of the character when she has her headband up to keep the hair out of her face. And speaking of the face, we do get 2 prints for the head. We've got one where she's actually got a smile going on, and then of course the angry, more gritting her teeth kind of look, probably for when she's in a blaster battle. Now if we go ahead and pop on all the accessories, we do have the jetpack that goes on the back of the figure, which does look really good and matches the look of the characters in the show. We also get the blasters, one for each hand for this one. And then we also do get a really nice print for the Mandalorian helmet. I love the detailed print we got here. Definitely matches the look of the character from what I've seen from the show. And I like the fact that we do get the targeting reticle on the side too, where it's just that standard gray piece. They actually included a pouch that included a bunch of extra of these pieces, as well as the visor kind of piece that can slot in on the helmet. So a nice touch that we got that as an accessory piece for the minifigures. Now the second minifigure that we get is the Mandalorian Loyalist figure. And this one does also feature a really nice print for the front and back of the torso, as well as on the front of the legs, but again, nothing extending onto the back of the legs or onto the arms. But the print that we got does feature a lot of detail, and I like the fact that we've got the gray as well as the brown mixed in there, and then we've got the blue for the main armor pieces, but I like the fact that it's got that dirty kind of weathered look to it, so it definitely makes it look like this Mandalorian's been through a few battles. Now, since this is just a nameless Mandalorian Loyalist, that's not an actual named character, so they did not actually include a head for the figure. They did include a headpiece, but just done up in solid black, just something to hold the helmet in place. And if we go ahead and pop on the accessories for this figure, of course we've got the really nice print for the Mandalorian helmet. I love the fact that we're getting really nice detailed prints for all of those, and those are going to definitely make them stand out apart from some of the other minifigures that I've got. And then we do have a jetpack piece, of course, to go on the back, and then a couple of blasters that it can carry as well. And that brings us to the last of the minifigures, where we have Gar Saxon. And this one is definitely a standout that does look really nice. And I like the fact that this one is done up in a different color, definitely giving us a different character kind of clashing with the Mandalorian Loyalist as well as Bo-Katan. So I like the fact that we got this one. And I'm a huge fan of black and red combinations, so I love the look of the printed pieces we got for this one. We've got the nice print for the front and back of the torso as well as for the front of the legs. And again, no print on the back of the legs or on the arms. But the print we got does have a lot of nice detail, where we've got the red as well as a little bit of kind of yellow poking through, and then a lot of the silver and kind of dark gray and black look to it. Now, moving up to the head, we don't get a hairpiece of any kind, and unfortunately we don't get an alternate print for the head. We just get kind of like a standard print where he looks a little bit disgruntled, maybe a little bit upset, but since there's no hairpiece to cover up the back, I can understand why they might not have included an additional print on the back of it. Maybe it would have been a little bit too distracting for the figure. Now, if we go ahead and pop on the rest of the accessories, we do get the same kind of jetpack piece as well as a blaster, but only a single blaster for this one. But we do get the standout of this set, where we got this really nice head mold, where it is actually a slightly different mold to the standard Mandalorian helmet, where this one actually has a few different spikes on top of it. Now, it doesn't actually have any holes on the sides of it to mount any of those additional accessories, but we do get a really nice print for the head. We've got it done up with the black and red as well as the yellow there in the glass part that they look through. So we do get a really nice print for this one, and this is definitely my favorite minifigure from this set. And that brings us to the main build for this set, which is the Starfighter itself. And overall, the look of the ship is really well done. We've got a lot of different angles and contours kind of worked into the design of it. And I love the fact that we get the light gray as well as the dark gray, complemented by the light blue and dark blue. And the overall look of the vehicle with the color scheme, it does match the look of both Bo-Katan as well as the Mandalorian Loyalist. So I'm happy to see that they actually complement each other very nicely. Now, personally, I like the look of the wings folded flat down with that kind of flat orientation with the cockpit. It definitely looks more like a standard kind of spaceship or a jet fighter of some kind. But the overall look of the wing is really nice with the way they've incorporated all the different edging. I think my only downside with the wings is, just like with other vehicles, we don't actually have it with a double-sided for like the studs that are on it. We've got that kind of standard underside of the Lego on the bottom, and it looks like they've tried to include a similar kind of design and look to it on the bottom, matching the look of what you would expect, but it is a little bit odd since it is the underside of the Lego. It's too bad that they couldn't do a double-sided build to it to just fill it in and make it look that much better, since it would actually have a similar look on both sides of the wing. And we do have the engines attached to the wings as well, where we got like that double engine with the clear translucent yellow piece done in the 2x2 scale, where it's kind of like reverse curved to give it a nice smooth finish on the bottom there. Now, if you look at the top of the engines, I did not include the stickered piece on those. I don't feel like it really needs that necessarily, because the overall look of the vehicle is really nice. It does add a couple of additional details, but again, I'm more a fan of the printed pieces, so I would have preferred to see that as a print. Now, as we move into the middle, this is where, of course, you'll notice I didn't put the sticker on the back either, or on the cockpit, because I do like the look of the cockpit on its own without any stickers applied to it. I know it doesn't quite match the look, but it does kind of give it more visibility. And speaking of the cockpit, I do like the fact that we can fit both Bo-Katan as well as the Loyalist in there, and they do have enough room when they're fully geared up with their jetpacks as well. So that's a nice feature, that you don't have to actually take those off and store them separately. You can just sit them in there while they have those on. So it does mean less time taking them on and off of your figure if you're going to pop it in and out of the cockpit. Now with the cockpit closed, you'll notice of course that we do have a bit of a gap forming on the front on both of the sides where they have a couple of like open spaces there, which is a small downside because it is supposed to be a spaceship, so you figure maybe it would be airtight. Maybe they originally were going to go with a different style cockpit piece and then finalized on this one afterwards, but it would have been nice to see a way to kind of cover that up and just close up the gap a little bit more and maybe build it up a little bit more with the bricks around it instead of having to worry about applying stickers on it. Now moving to the very front of the vehicle, we do have the forked look at the front where we have a couple of cannons mounted in the front in between the two forks there. But the overall look at the front of it, it does have some nice line work to it and it does make it look really good and blend well with the rest of the vehicle. And it does fit very nicely and securely in between the wings, especially since the way they're designed, they have a bit of a gap design for that to fit in there and slot in properly. Now, if we check out the back of the vehicle, we do have the mounted turret on the back, which can actually rotate in place so you can actually orient it in a few different positions. Unfortunately, though, that's all you can really do with it. I was wondering if there was going to be a different kind of feature to that, or maybe it would activate something, since it is a piece that can actually move in place. But it looks like it is just a small play feature, so you can have a little turret that moves around at the back. Now, the last part of the set that I want to take a look at is the underside, where we actually have some landing gear, or at least what's supposed to be landing gear, where we've got a couple of angled pieces. We've got a couple of them mounted underneath the cockpit and then a couple mounted a little bit further back on the main body that's connected to the wings. But unfortunately, they actually don't sit at the same height. So when you have it sitting on a flat surface, it actually puts the vehicle on an angle, which is a small downside because anytime I've seen it in the show or if you've seen pictures of it, it usually is actually sitting where the vehicle is sitting like almost perfectly horizontal with the wings kind of sitting vertically straight up. Now, there is a panel at the back here that actually has a ball joint, so you can actually bend that and open it. So maybe that's because they wanted to make it so you could have a door to make it look like it actually can open so that the figures can go in there, which to me is a bit of a downside because I would have liked to actually replace all of those pieces with maybe some proper landing gear that can actually bend and fold out of the way. But otherwise, it's a small downside, and a couple of changes to that with just a couple custom parts could actually change the look of that. I've actually seen someone who modified it and actually made it so it was still low profile enough that the main center area can actually spin in place. So now that we've had a chance to take a look at all the different features for this set, we'll go ahead and throw up a couple of shots here where we have a few different orientations for the vehicle. And I think overall, I do like the look of this one. I do have a couple other Star Wars ships kicking around, so this will be a nice one to add to my small collection. It's not nearly as expansive of a collection as some people have online, but maybe one day we'll take a look and go through all of the different ones that I have. But I think overall this one is going to be a nice one to add to my Star Wars ship collection. There are some nice features to it with the overall look and design and the color scheme, of course. I like the fact that it does look like a really nice ship and the fact that it does actually have the similar moving parts to what you'd expect from the show. So all of those do make it a great feature. And of course, we've got a lot of weaponry. We got the stud shooters and the flick fire spring-loaded missiles as well. And then even a couple of just static cannons on the front and back of the main body. So those are nice additional features for the set. Now, as for downsides for this set, like we've talked about, we've got the gaps in the sides there on the cockpit, so it doesn't actually fully seal, which is a bit of a shame for a starship. We've got the lack of proper landing gear, which does put the overall set on a bit of an angle when it's in its landing position. And also the fact that the underside of the wings is just the underside of the Lego. They did try to kind of complement that a little bit by having it be the right colors that should be underneath there. But it would have been nice if they did find a way to do like a double-sided build, or even just a couple of flat tile pieces to kind of help fill that in and change up the look of it, maybe make it a little bit smoother. So let me know your thoughts on the Starfighter in the comments below, and is there any other Star Wars sets that you would recommend? Leave that below and make sure to like and subscribe and get that bell on to be notified about our next video. Now, before you end up in a battle with a Starfighter, just be sure to tell everyone that you just got bricked.